والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we thank Him, and we are so grateful to Him for everything He's given us. And we send peace and blessings on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. Welcome to the Secrets of the Heart. In this show we are trying to uncover the secrets of the world of the heart, so hopefully we will be able to cultivate our hearts, understand the important position that they occupy and the wonderful role they play in our lives. Because living this life unaware of the reality of the heart is like being dead, is like living at the same level of animals without realizing the higher form of life, the higher level of happiness and real tranquility in this world and in the next. We spoke previously about two types of diseases of the heart. These diseases are very harmful to the heart. One of them is light, one of them is at a superficial level, and the second one is very serious. The superficial one, everyone feels the pain of it. This is why people hasten to treat it. But the problem, if they treat it the wrong way, the disease will get worse. That's an important thing that we have to learn. For example, someone's right is taken away. The right way he feels sad, he feels frustrated. The right way to treat this disease, this is a light disease of the heart because feelings are in the heart. The right way to deal with this illness is to get him his right back with justice. But if he transgresses against that person and takes more rights than he really deserves, his illness will intensify. What will happen? His heart will be affected and he will become a more aggressive person himself, and then he will find it easy to take the rights of other people. So he has caused his heart an illness on the other side. A person is sad for a certain reason. How do we make him happy? We bring him something that is good, something that is happy, a happy news, a happy event that really makes him happy. But some people treat the sadness that they have by a wrong type of happiness. Because this happiness is based on oppressing other people or causing them damage. For example, some people find happiness in torturing others. Why? That's an illness of the heart. Because they have tried to treat the sadness, the frustration they have with a certain treatment, but they exceeded the limit. So they went into confiscating other people's right or oppressing others. So what happened? They caused themselves a more serious illness. This is still easy to manipulate and to treat. The more serious illness, we said, are the illnesses that pertain to the religion. Illnesses about the desires, overwhelming desires, the heart being taken, being captivated by a sin, by a desire, being overwhelmed by a certain passion to something that is forbidden. Or the heart being so much taken by an innovation, by a bid'ah, so that the person becomes consumed with that innovation, so he cannot free himself from it. So this type of illness, we said, is very, very harmful, it's very destructive, and the most important aspect of it, and the most serious, is that the person who suffers from it does not really realize that he has a serious illness. Because his own involvement in these wrong practices will make him numb. His heart will become numb. It will not feel the pain that the disease is causing him. We give the example of a person, of a heavy smoker. The more he smokes, the more he will need of smoking. The same applies to drinking. A person who's so much inclined to drinking, he will need to drink more every time. Because once he's awake, once he's conscious again, and he's not under the impact or the effect of drinking or of alcohol, he wakes up, he realizes he cannot face the reality, so he still needs to drink more. That's a serious issue. The same applies to drug addicts. So this is the problem. Such people always search to cause themselves more numbness, so that they do not suffer, or they do not really feel the pain of the disease is causing them. The same applies to people of innovation and the people of sin. The people of sin, they start with a small sin and they keep adding to that, because a sin will breed another sin. A person cannot, do a sin, then dwell on that and stay on that stage. No, he either repents or he goes to more extremes in terms of sinning. That's the seriousness of this illness. So the person starts with a small sin, for example, looking at women, staring at women. Then this staring will take the heart will follow the sight, the heart will become attached to that woman, to a certain woman, a certain person. Then it develops into a passion, an overwhelming passion, and then the heart falls captive. Then it leads to other sins such as adultery, fornication, and even worse than that. And we know that a sin always leads to a greater sin. And why? Because the person cannot stop. Because once you fall in the sin, it will harm your heart. And once you're done with it, you will feel the pain of that. You will feel the pain of it. And once you feel the pain, you want to run away from it. But you don't choose the right treatment, the right remedy, which is the Qur'an of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to us. That's the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's repenting, or the 3 measures that we mentioned previously. Get rid of the harmful things. Repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and move on to righteousness. But the person is not so much inclined to that. The only option he has when he's suffering from the pains that the sin has brought upon him, the only way to escape that pain is to do more sin. Keep himself busy. Preoccupy himself with more sin. And the situation will worsen, will worsen, will worsen. And how many people's lives could be summarized in this small statement, or this small principle? That they fall into sin, they fall into innovation, and once they wake up from that sin or that innovation, they cannot handle the pain that this sin has caused, because during that time they feel numb. During the time of sin or the time of innovation, they feel numb. But after that, the heart is being created, by the way, to love Allah and to be obedient to Him. So when you wake up from that sin, the heart will cause you pain. It will push you. What did you do? You caused me harm. You've harmed me. You've damaged me. So the heart is, keeps pushing you to find for the remedy. But shaitan will make you go into more sin. Why? To run away from that pain. And the only option you have, if you are not attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only option you have is to do more sin and have more of that numb feeling. So what you do, or what such people do, they fall into more sin, more sin, more sin. And every time they have an interval where the heart wakes up and it gives them so much pain about what they have done, or about what they did, they try to escape with adding more disease, more illness, more harm to the heart. So they cause more damage. That's the seriousness of this illness. And it also applies to the innovation. A person does an innovation, and the innovation leaves a scar on the heart, because it is something that is against Islam. Although it seems to be like an act of worship, it seems to be like righteousness. So what happens, the person, when he wakes up from the numbness of that innovation, he needs more of that feeling, or intoxicant. It's like an intoxicant feeling. So he wants more of that. So he goes into more sin and more sin. More innovation, and the innovation grows and grows and grows until the person is engulfed with that. So he lives all his life feeling numb. And the problem, the final stage of that would be a dead heart. A dead heart has so much hatred for the truth, has so much detestation towards the people of the truth. And that's a real disease and a real illness. Once you get to a dead heart, you will have enmity to the righteous people. And a dead heart means life on the level of animals. But we need a life on a higher level, the spiritual level, the life of the heart. This is what we need to acquire. Now, the Prophet ﷺ pointed out that there are different illnesses, or there are certain diseases of the heart. And actually, we said these are two types, the sin or misconceptions. Part of the misconception, by the way, is ignorance. When you are ignorant about something, it means you don't have an understanding of it, or you have a wrong understanding about it. And this is called ignorance. And this is also a disease. And the Prophet ﷺ actually called it disease in the story of a group of Muslims who went out on an expedition. And one of them, he was hit on the head and he cut his head. The following night, he had a wet dream, so he had to make ghusl, he had to take ablution. But he realized that if he was to take ablution, he might, harm himself. So he said to his companions, he said, you know that I've cut my head and I have to make ablution. Can't I just make tayammum? They said, well, if you can use your water, we don't find you an excuse to make tayammum. So he washed himself, and because of the cold water and the wound he had in his head, he died. When they informed the Prophet ﷺ about that, he said, قَتَلُوهُ قَتَلَهُمُ اللَّهِ. He said, they killed him. May Allah kill them. Imagine. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, هَلَّا سَأَلُوا إِذْ لَمْ يَعْلَمُوا. Why didn't they ask? If they didn't have knowledge, if they were ignorant about it, why didn't they ask? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, he gave a very beautiful statement. He said, إِنَّمَا شِفَاءُ الْعِيِّ السُّؤَالِ. The remedy, the medicine to an ignorant person is question. Ask. If you don't know, that's an illness, that's a disease. How do you treat it? You treat it by asking and requesting knowledge. It's very simple. So the Prophet ﷺ called the ignorance a disease or an illness. This is why when the person is ignorant about something that is very crucial, something very important, especially questions that pertain to the reality of this world. Where did we come from? What are we doing here in this world, on earth? What's the meaning of our existence? These are questions that are engraved in our hearts. No one can escape these questions. At some moment of our lives, these questions come up to the surface and we have to provide answers. Otherwise, our hearts will feel uneasy. They're searching for these answers unless, and this is what most people do, they run into the numb feeling of either sin, innovation, etc. So the heart will always feel uneasy until you quench the thirst. This ignorance needs answers. This ignorance needs to be removed from the heart. The heart feels uneasy with that type of ignorance, especially with such questions about the reality of this world, the meaning, the wisdom behind our creation, behind our existence, and where are we heading to? What's going to happen after death? Is that the end of humanity? Is that the end of life? The hearts are always asking these questions, and with the case with most human beings, they always try to run away from that. This is why you find, especially speaking in countries that don't have Islam, people run into drugs, women, partying, alcohol, different things. People try to preoccupy themselves with anything, with football, with any kind of sport, any practice, any way of life, just to run away from the feeling of emptiness because of having no answers to these crucial questions. So this ignorance is a serious illness, and the heart keeps, giving you hard times like sadness, frustration, a feeling of emptiness, because it needs to be healed. It needs that treatment to tell you, it needs the answers to these questions. But most people try to run away from that. Hopefully, inshallah, in future episodes we will elaborate more on this and on this serious disease of ignorance. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us cultivate our hearts and treat them in the best way possible. Until we meet next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.